Welcome back. Let's continue to this now. The community of Dalibhunga informal settlement in Orange Farm calling for strict regulations on taverns in the area. Now, this after 8 people, including the suspect, were shot dead in the early hours of Sunday morning. The incident is alleged to have been sparked by a fight that ensued between a tavern owner and a male patron. Now, the tavern owner allegedly followed the male patron, who was a visitor at a nearby house, and on arrival fired shots randomly, killing 7 people, including a 3-year-old child. To speak more on this, let's now welcome Professor Jacob Mofokeng, crime and violence expert. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I mean, we have seen several mass shootings in the country over the last few weeks, especially with the most shocking, of course, being the one in Lusikisiki, where 18 people were gunned down. As we get your reaction to this latest incident, perhaps give us the factors, behind the driving the increase in mass shootings in both, I would imagine, urban and rural areas.
Good afternoon, Anati, and good afternoon to SABC News viewers. Indeed, we have seen this surge of mass killings, across South Africa and mostly in certain provinces. It seems as if we have taken over, the animal kingdom, where we have adopted the so-called killing instinct. We see a lot of, people being killed as if the country is thirsty for blood. So we have observed that, since, our democratic dispensation, we have been, observing how in the previous dispensation, how the previous government, was using oppressive means in any means to oppress, certain people, including African people in the country. But then it means that the way in which we retaliated, then it was a means of violence of which it was, justified. But, post, democracy, the availability of illegal firearms, as well as, the escalation of gender-based violence, how we kill people, during road rage on the road. It just shows that we are just an angry nation, and the incident that you have just indicated now, is someone who is in possession of a firearm that it's not yet, known whether it's a licensed firearm, but the manner in which, he exercised the aggression, so to kill even people that were not part of that, in a fight, it just shows that, most of the people are very angry, and it is, a sign of social disorganization. Normally, in any, if you see animals, in a particular tribe or group, whenever they are not, there are no intruders, they work together. But in the event of disorganization, the same group of animals that are working together, they start fighting amongst each other. So we see also an element of disorganization in South Africa, where we have adopted this culture of, any means, by means of, killing even innocent people, as a means of retaliation, as a means of expressing our rage, and our anger. So it is very much unfortunate that also the use of firearms, will always venture, as indicated in the cases of Lusikisiki.
And Prof, before you get to the firearms, I think we're going to touch a little bit on this. I mean, just on some of the words that you're saying, I mean, it does raise the question, is this country a violent country? I mean, having said that, then, the question then also follows, what are the main challenges that law enforcement authorities face in preventing these mass shootings? I know, of course, that the law enforcement authorities in this country are not the only ones that should be addressing this matter. It is a complex one. It is a societal issue too. But in the main, are we a violent country?
Yes, we are a violent country, and we have to, accept that and begin working with how then can we, reduce the level of anger, and aggression in South Africa. Indeed, as I indicated that, in the past, how we used to burn buildings and do other things, it was just something that is justified. Look at how people are celebrating the killing of the suspects in the KwaZulu-Natal, is a means to say we are tired of being harassed and terrorized. It means that we have now, validated violence, and violence has become part of us as a new culture, whereby, whenever we have to solve issues, it has to come through violence. And unfortunately, we are now expecting the South African Police Service to be everywhere, but also, the incident of what is happening, behind the scenes where South African Police Service will not be there, like in the case of this particular incident. So you don't expect the police to be there. But we are talking about, do we have to allow people to carry firearms in such, intensive, society where, you step on someone's toes, that particular person will not say you are hating me, the person will say I'll kill you. So it just shows that we are so angry nation, and eventually we are indeed, a violent country.
I mean, just in slight difference in terms of these crimes that we are seeing, the one major difference in this particular incident is that the alleged perpetrator has also, of course, committed suicide, bringing the number of dead people to 8. Without, of course, knowing the exact details with this case, I mean, does this fact have any significant meaning, do you think, perhaps to the mental state, perhaps, of the tavern owner, or just the issue around violence around taverns in this country?
Well, the person, had a position of a firearm, probably because of, the issues of extortions, and these people, they need to protect themselves. But you see, ego as well as a weapon, in a case where the person has been provoked, so we see that there is a lack of emotional intelligence for someone in a position of a firearm. So this person is supposed to know that he's working with, customers and some of them will be irritating, especially I'm sure it was not the first time that someone will come when a tavern has been closed, and it means that it is a common occurrence, and the person was supposed to have been prepared that, well, this is what happens normally when people are drunk. But for that particular individual to follow this particular patron to a place where people were celebrating, where even a child lost a life, it just shows, the ego of this particular person, and as well as in possession of a firearm. So it just talks that, we allow firearms to be in the hands of people that actually are not supposed to have firearms. As I indicated, the level of aggression, anger, rage on the roads, where people will eventually, because either the person wants to show bystanders that how then the person will respond to a particular provocation, it will end up someone losing a life. It just shows that we have firearms, but we don't know how to control, our emotions. So it is not a case where someone was, protecting, his livelihood as well as his life, where there was intruder in the tavern. So we see this, in South Africa, that if then we have come to a point where people are killed, twice the amount as compared with the previous years, where people are losing their lives. Indeed, then we have to look into this particular matter, that we have a problem of rage, we have a problem of aggression. It could be, the life itself. We are aware that, life is becoming more expensive, the power failures, we thought that we passed the era of load shedding, but it looks like we are an angry bunch of people.
It does. And it doesn't help, of course, that we do have, those regulations, stiff ones, I might add, where it is very difficult to acquire a firearm legally in this country, but seemingly very easy to acquire one illegally, as you've also indicated to Prof. But thank you so much for your time and your analysis. I really do appreciate it, Professor, of course, Professor Jacob Mofokeng there for us.